Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to Daily Reflections with Chris. I'm Chris, and this is Daily Reflections with Chris. And today, for those of you who are familiar with this YouTube channel, we read out of the Daily Reflections, which is our guide for our topic. So I'm not like all over the place with my shares, right? Even though I do get there sometimes. I try to kind of like reel it in a little bit. So I do that with this book. It's called Daily Reflections. And this book is a book of reflections by AA members for AA members. But you don't have to, you don't really have to be an AA member. This could pertain to anything in recovery, whether you're in a church recovery group, maybe you're in a different 12-step program, maybe you go to therapy, whatever it is, whatever your life recovery looks like, right? And for me, even though I use different mediums now, or I use different tools for my life recovery, it all did start for me in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a 12-step program for alcoholics. And it started there for me. So I give that particular program a lot of, how should I say, a lot of my gratitude, right? I'm thankful to that program for what it's done for me. So as for those of you who know, we did start a new group. It's called Tercera Tradición, and it's located in Dripping Springs, Texas, 28900 Ranch Road 12. It is Spanish speaking because I am bilingual, and as a result of a service commitment with Area 68 as the bilingual chair, I learned that I really like being part of the Spanish community, even though my YouTubes are in English, because that's where it all started. The Spanish community now has a big part of my heart. So here, as you can see behind me, this is kind of, I'm behind the podium, and they use a podium in Spanish-speaking meetings. So I'm behind the podium, and nobody's here yet. I'm waiting. This is a brand new group. Attendance is low. So I'm waiting for somebody to come in, newcomer, old timer, somebody to come in, because even if they're on paper, it doesn't matter to me, because that's the way I started. I came in here on paper, halfway drunk, very lost, very undetermined, no motivation, hopeless, just pretty much felt like a plastic bag in the wind, just everywhere but nowhere, right? And didn't have focus, didn't have goals or dreams. And I did have goals and dreams, but they were dying. They were dying just like my soul and my spirit was. So when I got here, it wasn't much. And really, they said there's coffee and there's donuts and have a seat. And we're just gonna share with you, about our recovery. And I really appreciated that, because they didn't pressure me to do anything. Except sit. Maybe the strongest thing they asked me to do was sit down, but even then I was in the back, and I slept most of my first meetings. One thing I do remember from my first meetings, even though it was in a different language, because those of you who know my story, my very, 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 very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous was in a Spanish-speaking meeting, and I just needed to get my paper signed, right? I had no clue. I didn't take into consideration it's a different language. I didn't know they were going to talk about spiritual things. I didn't know what 12 steps look like. I didn't know about the big book. I definitely didn't know about this book for way, maybe about a year or two into my recovery. So I didn't really know a lot. But one thing that I did get from my very first meeting was that, and just like in every meeting, one language that they do speak is the language of the heart. And even though I didn't care to know Spanish back then, what I do remember them telling me is, Chris, you never have to drink again if you don't want to. And that's what has always stuck with me. I don't ever have to drink again if I didn't want to. And I didn't know that. I had never heard that before. And when they told me that, I was like, okay. And then they said, keep coming back at the end. And I was like, okay. I hadn't heard that in a while, right? Keep coming back. As a matter of fact, the more my alcoholism progressed, the more isolated I become, because people kept asking me, what are you gonna do, Chris? What are you gonna do? Why you keep drinking? Why don't you get it together? You're getting old, la, la, la. All these questions And at first it was like, hey, I'm taking my time. It's like, good, okay, thank you. You know, I would like take it kind of lightly, but after a while, I didn't know how to answer these questions anymore because I started to feel a lot ashamed about where I was in life because I was getting older and I was doing nothing. But I had no clue that what I was suffering with was this thing called alcoholism that there's no cure for. So here I am, a decade later, 2 decades later, right? With 5 years of sobriety and really, really more passionate about this program than I have ever been. And so we started this meeting and, you know, started this YouTube channel, and then, you know, now we're having this meeting in Dripping Springs, Texas. So I'm excited about it all. It is slow going. I think I have maybe 7 or 8 followers on YouTube, but I'm hoping that this meeting will have lots more than 7 or 8 members at the end of a year. So here I am, waiting for somebody to show up. It's 12:04 now here. And the meeting started at 12 and nobody's here, and that's okay. There's a lot of things going on. And Dripping Springs, even though it's right outside of Austin, it might take somebody 25, 30 minutes to get here. So who wants to make that drive on a Sunday morning besides myself? I don't know. But I'm waiting for them. But till then, I wanna read a little. I got a little bit motivated. I started watching some YouTube channels and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do a little video today. So today is June the 11th. And our topic for today says family obligations. A spiritual life which does not include family obligations may not be so perfect at all. And that's from the literature, Alcoholics Anonymous, page 129. I can be doing great in the program, applying it at meetings, at work, and at service activities, and find that things have gone to pieces at home. I expect my loved ones to understand, but they cannot. I expect them to see and value my progress, but they don't unless I show them. Do I neglect their needs and desires for my attention and concern? When I'm around them, am I irritable or boring? Are my amends a mumbled sorry, or do they take the form of patience and tolerance? Do I preach to them, trying to reform or fix them? Have I ever really cleaned house with them? The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. And that's also from our literature, Alcoholics Anonymous, page 83. Family obligations. You know, I've been hearing that for years now, even before I came to the program. They're like, well, Chris, you give over here, but you don't pay your bills. You go out with your friends, but you don't spend time with your family. You make great money, but you drink it all and your credit score is bad. I mean, like, there was all these things, all these red flags that people were telling me about that I could never really understand, and half the time didn't care to understand, right? Because I was kind of doing my own thing, living my own life. And when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and they started to, like, discipline me, you know, in a way, they didn't make me, like, do push-ups or sit-ups or nothing. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but they didn't ask me that. Disciplining, in a way, is like taking a service commitment and fulfilling it, right? If you're going to be the coffee person for a month, you're going to be here every single meeting to do the coffee. If you're going to chair a meeting for a month, you're going to chair whatever that meeting date is, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and you're going to be doing that for a month. And they taught us to stick to it, right? So they start real early on. They put me on a service commitment, a scheduled date, weekly or monthly service commitment. So it was scheduled. It wasn't just like, hey, show up whenever you want. No, it's like every Monday you got to be here at 7 o'clock to open the meeting. And they even said, actually, the meeting starts at 7. So why don't you get here 30 minutes before and stay 30 minutes after? So that was another part of my service commitment. So it started somewhere and it kept expanding and expanding, right? Well, one of the things that I learned from meetings, and this took me a while, folks. I didn't learn it overnight. One of the things I learned from my meeting is this is where they taught me how to stay, right? Because this 12-step program, just probably like any, one of the traditions says that the only requirement is the desire to stay sober, right? So you don't need a paper to walk in here by the court. You don't need to be a certain color, a certain a certain color or a certain financial status, you know, or believe in certain creeds. You just have to have the desire to stop drinking. That's the only thing that they require to be a member, right? So what that means is that people from all walks of life will come in here. Some really, really rough people, some really, really sharp people, educated, non-educated, job or no job. Some have wives, some won't. Some have kids, some don't. You know, so none of that was a requirement. And thank God it's not, or I wouldn't be here, right? Because I don't have kids and I didn't have a job and I'm not like, I have a lot of money. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that they didn't ask me none of that for that when I got here, because I wouldn't have been able to let in. You don't even have to, they don't even ask you to, that, you know, your crimes. They don't ask you none of that. That's not what we're here for. We're just here to help another alcoholic who's suffering to gain sobriety, right? So with all these different people coming into these rooms, that means you're gonna deal with all different walks of life, all different. And I hate, probably the word deal is not a good word, but you will come across all walks of life. Everything, even really, really healthy people who won't ever touch a donut, and you're sitting right next to the guy who wants all the donuts, or girl, right? Who wants all the donuts. So you get everything here. Well, what happens is you might clash. I might clash with 2 or 3 people sometimes, maybe one person, maybe it's a certain somebody, maybe a certain type of person. Because I'm still unhealed. I just got here myself. I'm just getting to know me. I'm just getting to know about this thing called alcoholism. And I'm just getting to know about this thing called a solution, a recovery program, which comes as a result from working the 12 steps. So even then, even after I've worked my 12 steps more than once, well, I only done them twice. The whole 12, I only done them once, but I've done several of them many times. So sometimes I deal with people that I don't really want to have patience with or tolerate with. And this program teaches me how to clean my side of the street, right? Keep my side of the street clean. So if I have an impasse with one of my group members or somebody that I see at a different meeting or a different city, I don't feel good inside, right? I don't feel, and to me, that I know that I mumbled sorry is like, it's not going to work anymore. I can't just be like, hey, dude, sorry I said that, man. Oh, no, I can't do that anymore. That's not cute. It was cute maybe at some point in my life when I was like, you know, when I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know right from wrong. I might have been, I don't know when that was cute. Maybe when I was drunk. I don't even think it was cute back then. But I didn't know any better back then. So I would just say, oh, sorry, oh, sorry, oh, sorry. But I would keep tripping over the same rock. I'd keep hitting the same people. I'd keep shoving people. You know, like I had this way of just thinking that I was the only worker in my job, that I was the only student in my class. And I would like kind of push people aside, but not intentionally or not even knowing what I was doing. But after a while, it's like, dude, like, stop saying you're sorry. Like, just stop doing it. And people were telling me that before I came into the program, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, as I started this journey to become an adult, the impasses started to get more deeper and deeper and stronger and harder to fix with just a mumbled sorry. Right, so here in this program, I learned when I have an impasse with one of my group members or somebody at work, I know exactly what to do, man. I got to check myself. I got to analyze myself. Dude, what was your motive behind that word or that action? And you can't apologize till you figure that out, because just saying sorry means that, hey, I'm sorry I did it wrong, but I haven't worked on anything and I'll probably do it again. And I don't want to be that person where continues to do the same exact thing that hurts the same person in the exact same way. I can't be doing that. I don't want to be doing that. I can't be doing that, but I don't want to be doing that, right? So a mumbled sorry doesn't work for me no more. I have to look, okay, what was the motive? Was I trying to hurt that person, or was I trying to help that person? Could I have done it a different way? Or was that the proper way to do it and they just got their butt hurt, right? So I got to get clear of that before I can go and apologize to anybody or make amends to anybody. So I'm not a believer of that, like, oh, I said it and you got hurt. That's your shit. I don't believe in that. I mean, other people can work like that. This person right here, I cannot. If I hurt somebody, I got to figure out, what did I do to hurt that person? Right? Could I have said it different? Could I have done it different? Maybe I can't. Maybe the truth is, I don't know. There's no other way I could have said it. And there's no other way I could have done it. It just had to be done. And, you know, it had to be said. And people will get hurt, you know. And I'm talking about some stuff that people will get hurt no matter how good you do it. Breakups, right? I don't always try to have the best breakups, but I do, because I don't know if there's such thing as a really good breakup. But even then, it hurts. Death hurts. Infidelity hurts. Lies hurt. Dishonesty hurts. Some of those I could do different. Some of those I cannot. So I got to be clear about that before I try to apologize or I try to be different. Because I can't be different if I don't know what the problem is. I couldn't work on my alcoholism until I realized that alcohol was draining me emotionally, spiritually, physically. And once I did that, once I did the first step, I was able to work on the rest of the steps. I was able to give into this program completely. And it's like that with everything in my life, I'm finding out. So I do it at work and I do it in my meetings, right? They're teaching me how to stay at meetings and teaching me how to stay at work, right? I'm learning how to not quit my job just because, to think about it thoroughly if I'm going to do a job change or transfer a shift, which I am right now. So I had to think about it completely and thoroughly and try to make the best move that was for me at this time, or to decide if it was even right now, right? Or should I wait? So all that I thought about before I made a move, you know, when I have conversations with my family, I think about them now before I have them, because I want to get my selfish desires out of it. I want to get my feelings out of it. Does it always come off that way? No, because sometimes it's on the spot. Like, we're having a conversation like right now. Oh, crap. I haven't prepared, but let's go. Let's do this. And sometimes it turns out good, and sometimes it turns out really, really bad. Right? But sometimes they just happen that way. So I do have unprepared conversations. But mostly, if I can help it, I'll prepare for it, right? But was I always like that? No. As a matter of fact, because of my overcommitment to service work, my overcommitment to want to carry this message to people who don't know that it exists, for one, but also to people who are struggling with, how can I help them, right? How can I help them so that they don't go back to what was killing them, right? So I can do that here. I can help people at work with flying colors. I can teach them to do their job. I can teach them to do their job well. I can teach them to cope with, you know, probably influencers around in the workplace that they can't really appreciate, or they don't, or they shouldn't, right? So I kind of like help. We don't have HR at work, so I kind of try, if somebody asks me to help them, I can try to help them kind of understand the situation and make them, at least let them talk about it, right? So that if they're gonna make a drastic move, like with their job, like tell somebody off, like shoot the finger, like file agreements, what are we talking about here, right? I'm not to convince them any other way. I just want to help them process their thoughts. So I do it at work. I do it at, I do it in meetings. Sometimes I even do it at grocery stores. You know, I used to work for HEB, so when I go to HEB and I see my old co-workers there and we talk, man, it's like, wow, we just really needed that. I needed that. They needed that. It's just a really good interaction, right? But what about home? Well, this boy right here, like, I'm guilty. I didn't do this right at home. When my mother was alive, when my sister was alive, man, I didn't do it right. And people kept telling me, people kept sharing with me, and I was like, I don't know if I ignored it intentionally or was not in a space, but I did get, I wasn't always that person. I don't think I ever got my sister, the relationship with my sister right. But with my mom, because of what I had already learned, it got pretty good, right? And now I try to do my best to take care of my family obligations, right? I have 2 chihuahuas at home. I got to make sure I go feed them. I make sure they have food before I have food. I could be starving, but if they don't have food, I got to get their food. I got to make sure that they go potty breaks, that they get walked, that they're not on their kennel for too long, that they're bathed, that their nails are cut, which I'm not even doing great at that, but I'm conscious of it and making an effort towards that, right? Because I know how important that is today when I didn't know that before, right? As a matter of fact, when I used to drink, the family was the last thing I would consider. Always. I wouldn't consider. I would say, Mom, instead of buying them a birthday present or taking them to dinner, I'd spend all my money on booze and drugs. Instead of showing up when they needed me to, I was like at the bar. I was like, hey, later. Man, procrastination killed my family obligations, my family life, my, man, if you're a procrastinator like I used to be when it comes to family, please, man, pray on it. Do what you can to get over that. If I can give you anything today, is that, like, stop procrastinating with your family obligations, man. Because guess what, dude? Friends will outgrow you. They'll start thinking a different way because everybody's changing and growing too, not just you, right? Friends will outgrow you. They'll leave. They'll get married. They'll have kids. But family, man, they're like there forever. And folks, I love you. Be safe. I got my first person is going to show up right now. I love you. We'll talk soon. Bye.